Alright, so welcome to this part where we will be doing this little product or kind of almost like a food shoot also. So first of all, we've got a very minimal setup here. I'm going to guide you before we go into the phone here. You can see it's mounted on the tripod. I'm going to go through each and every part of this setup so that you understand what we're trying to do here. One of the most important things in this setup is this nice seamless PVC backdrop that you see. So this is not just like any chart paper. These are very durable things, absolutely seamless. Once we go inside our phone here, you're going to see how smooth this is going to look. And also one thing I should point out is, after we're done shooting here, I'm going to take you to Amazon and show you each and every thing here that I'm showing you, just so that you know how it, how you can shop for these also. Okay, so here there are a lot of ways to mount this. What I've done here is that I'm using two light stands and it's just attached using these clamps. If you have a wall behind, you can just use that also. A lot of different ways to mount this, but basically this is like, just flowing down on this table here that I've got. Okay, so that's how the setup basically looks. And again, either you can use some paper weights here. Again, I'm using clamps to hold down this. Otherwise, it just rolls back. That's the only problem, okay? Of course, we're going to be shooting this little bottle from this company called Raw. So this is just like an orange juice. And just behind it, you can see there's a fair amount of distance, and now you can guess, because we've seen this in one of the principles. Remember, if the background is far away, it's going to blur very well. So there's a fair amount of distance between both of them, okay? Especially important in mobile photography, because remember, we don't get shallow depth of field in a very easy way. So this is kind of going to be our composition once we head over to our camera, like this. If I just show you. Okay, so you can see it's already looking nice. I'm going to be zooming in once I go there. So this is just like a very basic setup that you can see here. Also, you can see that this is mounted on this tripod, but this is like a proper tripod, okay, like what we use for DSLR cameras. Now, the reason I'm not using this selfie tripod that we saw before is because the base of this is too less. Now, you can do it with this also, okay, I can extend it and do it. It's just that, just see this. Once I'll be focusing, once I take the shot, I'll be pressing my finger to focus, right? It just wobbles because of that shaky base, okay? So I have to wait every time I touch my phone for 10 seconds before that wobbling stops. That's why I'm kind of using a stronger tripod. And the only thing here is that I just need to use a bracket like this, okay? If I show you. So you can buy these brackets on Amazon. They're very, very cheap. And then you can just mount your phone. It's just more sturdy. Otherwise, to be frank, I could have done it with this also, okay? Here I've got my remote, okay, so I'm going to be using this to fire because this is connected by Bluetooth. This is the same remote that comes with the selfie stick tripod like we have seen before. Now, the lighting, that's going to be important. So we are using an 80 centimeter softbox here, okay, with the Godox SL60W video light. This is great for phone photography because we don't want to be using any sort of strobes or flashes because they obviously won't work with the phone. Okay, so we want continuous source of light, and this light is cheap, it's good, and this softbox, as you will see, is already modifying the light. You can see the nice looking shadows, but remember I told you that time when we were discussing the principles that when we do our food and product shot, I'm going to be showing you a way to even make this larger without actually buying a larger source of like a bigger softbox. This is where this thing will help us. Okay, so as I'm going to be showing you later, this is, I'm not sure if you can see because it's slightly in a dark area, but I'll be showing you this later also. This is nothing but the diffusion panel that you get in your reflectors. Okay, so if you uncover the reflecting part, you open that up, inside that is a diffusion panel, which I've just mounted on this light stand, okay? And here I've got a reflector holder, and what we're going to do later on is, in fact, right now, once we take our first shot, just to show you the difference, we're going to put this right here, okay, ahead of the light. And it's going to, because this is like 42 inches, okay, this is bigger than 80 centimeters, it's just going to make that light coming here much softer. Okay, much more softer. Even the highlights and the reflections that you see in this bottle will start to look good. So overall, the shot quality will improve. I'll take both the shots and I'll show you how that looks like. But basically, this is pretty much the setup that we have. It's going to be a simple food cum product photography shot. So let's not waste any time. Let's head over inside our camera, phone camera. All right, so this is how things are looking inside our phone. Before I do anything else, let me quickly connect my Bluetooth remote from the selfie stick tripod. So I'm going to quickly enable Bluetooth. First of all, you just have to press the button on this remote to start the Bluetooth mode, and then it's just going to basically recognize it. So just press this, and you can see that we're going to be seeing this. Yeah, now you can see it's connected. So I'm going to head back to the camera, and we're going to work on our composition a bit. So this is what we are seeing. I'm shooting this under the 3x4, not the 64 megapixel one, because we will need to zoom in right now to get a better composition. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Now, you don't want to zoom in too much, okay? Because remember the digital zooming part, we don't want to crop the image too much, just enough so that you are happy with the overall composition, okay? So maybe just like 1.7 is fine here, okay? And you can see immediately it starts to look really, really nice. Now, I had already made the adjustments here, so I think the label is looking fine. Maybe I'm just going to turn this slightly. Okay, now a few things I wanted to point out. I think this was fine actually. Yeah. Now, a few things I wanted to quickly point out. One is I've just taken this out of the freezer, okay? So we can see that nice little moisture on it, which looks really nice. Now, you can recreate this also, okay? You can take glycerin, go to any shop, medical shop, buy some glycerin and add it to water, and then just use like, you know, take that mixture, like you can mix half water, half glycerin, put it in a, you know, one of those bottles which have a sprayer, or you can even like put a toothbrush inside it and just spray it over the body of the bottle here. That actually stays on for longer and it looks much better than the natural thing that you see here, okay? But right now I think this looks good because I've just taken it out of the fridge. So I think this is fine. You can see here, we have a good distance between, since we have a good distance, that is getting blurred. So I just want to focus on it once here. So yeah, you can see we're getting a nice blur on that. Overall, the seamless paper is looking really good. That's the advantage of using these PVC seamless backdrop papers. And now basically, all we have to do is take the shot. So I've already focused, and now I'm just going to press this remote. My timer is already on. If you don't have a remote, make sure you put a slightly larger timer, like a 10-second timer, because this time you don't want absolutely any shake at all, okay? So I'm just going to take a shot right now. And you can see, if I just see this shot, I think this looks absolutely fantastic. But like I said, we are going to improve it, because right now, if you notice, okay, the top part where you can see that light, big highlight, is not looking good. It's looking too, like it's like a specular highlight, too strong. And even the shadows right now are slightly elongated, okay? So I want to soften this up. A lot of times, just get back to the camera here. A lot of times, I actually like to put a white any white cardboard or any reflective material on the left to cut out the shadows. It fills in the shadows. But here I actually like the look of the shadow a lot. So I did not put anything on the left side. I should at this point out that I do have very elaborate courses on both product and food photography. Those are really, really professional, using your DSLR or mirrorless cameras. Do check them out also if you like doing product and food photography. But right now, it's time to soften things up, and that's where I'm going to put that reflector, that diffusion panel, in front of the light, and you're going to see it's going to make a huge difference as compared to the last shot. So let's do that. All right, so now you can see I've put this panel in front of the light. This has enlarged the light source. That means things will just become softer. Everything will just look much better. So let's head into our camera and let's see how this is looking. And you can see that this absolutely is fantastic. We'll be quickly doing a comparison. Also, before that, you can see as far as my composition goes, because this is going to be our final shot, I've gone for a rule of thirds composition again. Okay, you can see the focus point, almost this bottle is placed along the axis, the right one, okay? And also, that's the advantage of using these grid lines. I know I'm getting a perfectly straight shot because if I see the top of the bottle, the cap, you can see it's perfectly in line with that grid line. So that means it's leveled. Also, I won't really have to crop this or do anything later on in post-processing, though we will be editing this shot. But right now, all just I have to make sure is I'm going to touch right where the logo is. I'm touching my finger there just to make sure the focus is absolutely spot on. And finally, I'm going to use my remote to take this new shot with this soft lighting. All right, so let's quickly see this shot. And I think this looks absolutely fantastic. So we're done with this shoot. First of all, before I show you the edited version of this shot, okay, and later on I'll also be showing you how exactly I edited this shot. But first of all, let's compare the two shots that we just took. Also, just before I do that, I just quickly wanted to point out that whenever you do take these shots, it's always a good practice to zoom in and see whether this is sharp or not. You can see this is absolutely 100% sharp. There's also no noise. That's because we are using a strong light, so the camera is using a lower ISO value. These oranges here have come out to be blurred, and I think this looks fantastic. I think overall, this shot is just looking good. We just might have to crop this a bit because I think a bit of the table is being seen below. That's fine, okay? But first of all, let's compare both the shots, and then let's start the process of editing this. All right, so this is the shot that we've just got out of our camera, and this is straight out of the camera without any editing, and I'm just going to be showing you the edited shot also because I have edited it. But before that, I just want to show you the difference between, so this was the final shot which we got with that 42-inch diffusion panel right in front of the light, which enlarged the light source, so everything was soft. But remember, before that, we also took this particular shot. So can you see the difference now? First of all, just notice the shadows here. This shot, because it was a slightly smaller source of light as compared to the one with the diffusion panel, even though this was large enough because we had the soft box on the light, but still, this shadow was slightly harsh, right? But look at the difference here. You see the shadow is way more softer, and overall the shot looks much better. Now here, if you notice the highlights, which is that main reflection on the bottle, it didn't make too much of a difference if you see these two shots. And that's because it's like an exceptional case here, because this bottle here has this outer covering that you can see, okay? And it is just, the covering is of a material which is not very reflective, so it's already diffusing the highlight, okay? But if it was like a reflective surface, then you would even see that thing here. But even then, with the shadow and the overall look of the shot, this definitely looks way better. So it's always better to soften the light as much as you can. And like I said, I edited this shot, cropped it a bit, did some things, and finally I got this as the final shot, which looked really good. I edited this using an app called Snapseed, which is a free mobile app by Google, which you can use to edit your shots. Now I have a very large course on, like almost like a 4.5 hour long course on Snapseed, which you can go through, but still, later on in the editing section, I will still be showing you how to use, how I exactly edited this particular shot inside Snapseed, but that will come later on in this course when we go towards the editing section. Right now, you can see here, this was the original and this was the Snapseed edited shot. Now, there's some more things to discuss here, so let's move on. All right, before we head over to Amazon, where I'll just be going through some of the things that you saw in that shoot, I just wanted to also show you this particular shot, because what I did after that shoot ended, I actually took out my Nikon D750 DSLR, which I usually use for my professional shoots, and I took this shot also with the 35mm f1.8 lens. And the reason I just want to show you this shot is that so that you also know that why DSLR and mirrorless cameras are not going away anytime soon, okay? Because just look at this particular shot, okay? Do you see those oranges behind now? They seem way more blurred than what he got with the phone, even though I did not change the composition at all. I did not change the placement of anything at all. It's just that, like I mentioned before in this course, I just have much more control over the setting of aperture, which blurs things, okay? So here I'm using the prime lens, 35mm f1.8, okay? And I'm shooting the shot at f1.8, which just gives me a really good blurred background. So even though, like I said before, your phone also might be shooting at f1.8, but just because the sensor is very small, okay? And also, the lens is just obviously cannot be compared with this kind of lens. You're not going to get such a nice blur at the same distance. So that's why it's very important in mobile photography that you keep a good distance, you get a good blur. And apart from that, of course, like if I zoom in, you can see here the sharpness also of this lens cannot be compared with the phone. This is not to downplay mobile photography in any way, because of course this is a mobile photography course, but you should also know the truth that if you really want to go to the professional level of doing food and product photography, you will, at least for now, at least in 2022 when I'm making this course, you still need a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, because the phone will only go so far because of so many factors that are involved here. So just thought I'll point this out before I take you onto Amazon to show you those equipment and gear that we just saw. So let's go there. All right, so even though I have given you like some link or some kind of a document where all the gear that I mentioned in this course is listed down in an orderly manner, I still thought I'll just make this 2-minute video just to go through some of the things that we just saw in the shoot. So the most important thing is when you go to Amazon, type PVC backdrop. That's polyvinyl material backdrop. These are slightly plastic looking in nature, and you can get them in different colors. Like I was using the yellow color. You can search the color here. You even get them in different textures that you can use, like wooden textures, instead of actually using a wooden surface. Nobody uses that these days, okay? Like people do use, but at least for beginners, it's good if you use something like a backdrop, because trust me, it does look exactly like the real wood, okay? So you can, buy these. The advantages of this over, let's say, if you can just go to your stationery and buy a chart paper, right? You must be thinking, Kush, why can't I do that? First of all, those are not durable. These are very durable. Secondly, the most important thing I like about them is they are, sorry if I'm using the wrong word, but cleanable, okay? Like they can easily be cleaned. Like if, let's say, because oftentimes when we're doing product and food photography, what happens is you often spill things, right? Some water might come. And if you're just using a normal paper, it might just even tear, okay? But these, nothing happens to them. You can wipe off anything and they are just very durable, okay? They stay exactly like they are. So I highly suggest that you go for one of these. They come in all sorts of colors, and you can just type PVC backdrop and the color that you want. Then we saw these backdrop clamps, which I always like to have in plenty. They're very cheap to have, and you can just use them to basically hold things like you saw. Okay, so you can type in backdrop clamps photography. Then you might need a phone bracket. Like I said, if you are using a tripod which is different than your selfie stick tripod, okay, then you need a bracket like this. Very cheap, very easy to buy. You can even go to your shops and buy this. We saw this Godox SL60W light. This is my favorite light for doing food and product photography, because it enables me to do food photography and product photography using not just my DSLR or mirrorless cameras, but like you saw, using the phone also. In fact, even in my product and food photography courses, I actually don't show you how to use strobe lights, which are those big flashlights, which can be very expensive, tough to use. Even there, when we're using a DSLR, I actually show you how to everything I show with the SL60W. So I think you should definitely get this light. Not the cheapest, definitely, but trust me, you're going to love this light. It's the most popular video light. If you ever want to get into becoming a YouTube celebrity also or something like that, they all use this light, okay? It's a great light for beginners, video light. Then one thing I haven't done here is, so let me just type it here. Let's see, Godox 80 centimeter softbox, because that's what you saw there. Okay, so bigger the softbox, the better, but the 80 centimeter is very popular because it's portable, it's not too large, and if you want to make it large, remember, we can go ahead and buy this 5-in-1 reflector for photography, because then you get this diffusion panel also. Okay, sometimes you get in 3-in-1 also. Whatever reflector you buy, make sure it has this diffusion panel with this translucent material, because this is what you're going to place like in front of your light to make it even softer like we saw. Okay, so it's important. And of course, either you can hold this from your hand, but if you want to be hands-free, then like I showed you, you can buy a reflector holder like this and just place it on a light stand. Okay, and light stands, of course, I'm not mentioning it here because you probably will need, so you can just type in light stand and you will find plenty of light stands like this. Okay, those are very cheap to buy, and on top of that, the reflector holder comes and you can mount the reflector on it. If you're starting out, if you just want to hold it from your hand, it's fine, because anyway your hands are free, because your phone, when you're doing this, remember, will be on a tripod. So it's okay if you don't have this and the light stand just to start off things with. So just thought I'll mention some of these things. I hope that you had great learning in this section, and I'll see you in the next shoot. Bye for now.